Okay, so many of you guys won't believe this, but I've been trapped in many different places. But today's story is when I got trapped at a place that I did not want to be at. But honestly, let's just say when things get really into tough situations, you kind of just go where you gotta go. But as usual, before the story starts, make sure you guys do leave a like and subscribe to the channel. And on top of that, watch me live on Kick streaming, telling crazy stories just like this to you guys. But other than that, let's just get straight into this. Yo, what is going on, you guys? My name's Bubba, and welcome back to an insane story. So today's story takes place back when I was in high school, and it was my grade 11 year. I remember my grade 11 year, one thing I always did was the Devil's Tango. And it was so common for me to do it to the point where I think you guys are even getting sick of the word. But I remember basically one time I was sitting with my table group and kind of just talking in my socials class about, you know, how times have changed. For example, back then, back in like the 1980s, women were a lot different compared to women till now. Like, for example, back then, women, you know, usually got married, had families, and basically did a lot of the housework. As for nowadays, women are breadwinners by showing their booty on OnlyFans. Yeah, you know, times have changed. And that's one thing we were addressing and, you know, talking about. But then afterwards, I remember a person in my table group ended up saying, oh, well, like, did you know that like private school girls are nothing like public school girls? When he said this, I had no idea what he was talking about. Like, what do you mean private schools don't have like the same type of girls? You would think a girl's a girl, right? Like, what could be possibly the difference? But I'm telling you guys right now, a private school girl versus an actual public school girl has a major difference. And today is going to be kind of explaining how in this story. Anyways, going on though, I remember basically when he told me this, I really didn't believe it. But obviously there was no way to test this because I didn't know any private school girls at the time. So I remember I kind of just started like, you know, basically ignoring it and left it for another day. Until the next day, I remember I was swiping on Tinder, just, you know, swiping away, trying to see if I can find any baddies to do the Devil's Tango with, until I ended up swiping on one girl. Now this one girl was wearing a school outfit, and when I say school outfit, I mean like a uniform that most commonly private schools wear. And I remember when I saw this, I was amazed. I'm like, whoa, this is a private school girl? And I remember I was scrolling through like, you know, her bio and everything, and basically all it kind of was just her trying to say that she wants fun because her life is, well, a whole load of work. Which, hey, I mean, one thing I know about myself is that I know how to have fun. Don't get me wrong, I get into a lot of tough situations, as you guys know on this channel, but I know how to have fun. So I remember I ended up swiping right on her, and when I swiped right, I remember instantly I got a match. Now at this moment, I knew I had to slide in a way where I can express myself as being fun, but at the same time hardworking. Because obviously with these private school girls, you don't know what they really are. You know what I mean? So I remember I basically ended up going in there saying the hey with the 3 Y's. Now many people are gonna ask, why did you do that? That sounds kind of cringy, and honestly, that's weird. But to be honest, 3 Y's equals, hey, I'm trying to do it with you. You know what I'm saying? Okay, it doesn't actually mean that, but you guys know what I mean. Going on from there, I remember she instantly actually messaged back. Well, not instantly, 2 minutes, but in my opinion, that's instantly in my mind. And when she messaged me back, I remember she ended up messaging, hey, with like literally 4 Y's. 4 Y's. At that point, you already know your boy was sliding in. I remember I ended up basically just cutting to the chase, saying that she was beautiful and basically asking common questions that you mostly would ask a girl when you're starting to get to know her. For example, like, you know, when's your birthday? What's your favorite color? What are you doing in school? Are you ready for college? You know, the basic stuff, because we were in grade 11, so obviously having a conversation wasn't that hard compared to having a conversation with like a grade 9. But right after, I ended up sliding a comment in that I use all the time, and guys, feel free to use this whenever you want. I basically said to her, yo, so like I don't really get notifications on this app, or actually get on this app a lot. Do you want to like just go to Snapchat? She ended up saying yes, and instantly I added her on Snapchat. By the way, I just want to say I'm verified on Snapchat, so if you want to add me on Snapchat, go for it. I would love to hear from you guys, and you guys could see my everyday life first person on Snapchat. So add me on there if you want. Going on from there, I remember basically something insane happened. When I added her on Snapchat, I remember she ended up basically sending me snaps of herself, and I'm not gonna lie to you. At this moment, I realized one thing, in that private school girls and public school girls actually didn't seem that different over the phone. But that's over the phone. Obviously, I wanted to get to know her more, and I want to, you know, actually hang out with her. Because what else are you supposed to do? Just have an internet girlfriend? Like, that's so cringe, dude. So I remember from there, I ended up basically talking to her, figuring out where her school was and everything, and we actually ended up basically setting a time and date for us to actually go out. When this happened, I remember I was excited. I'm like, oh, okay, bet. Like, you know, I got a date with a cool, hot private school girl. And the next day at school, I remember we ended up going to the same table group group and everything, and we were still in the same unit about how women have changed from, you know, back then till now. And I remember I ended up telling my table group, yo, bro, remember the private school girl thing that you were talking about yesterday? Yeah, what about it? Well, I'm gonna go see a private school girl today. I remember when I said that, my buddy ended up basically, you know, winking at me saying, go get her, Tiger. Actually, you don't even have to. She's gonna come after you. Wait, what is what I said? I had no idea what he was talking about until later on. And trust me, what happens next is actually insane. I remember I ended up basically going back into my car and I got a Snapchat from the private school girl. She ended up messaging me saying, hey, like, I'm still at school. I have volleyball practice. Do you want to watch me today? Oh yeah, sure. I'll love to watch you play volleyball. And honestly, I'm gonna say this right now, guys, you guys know this. There's two sports that you always watch when a girl's playing, and that's volleyball and softball, even baseball. If I'm missing any sports, comment it down below, but you guys know what I mean. So I remember I ended up basically getting into my car and driving over to her school. When I got to her school, I remember I ended up basically realizing that it was literally a private school, which I already knew, but I'm not gonna lie, private schools look a lot different than public schools. Anyways, going on from there, I remember I ended up going in there, and basically when I went in there, I basically went straight to the gym and tried not to look suspicious because, well, to be honest, it was already suspicious me walking in because no one knew me and I wasn't in a uniform. So it was already awkward enough. So I remember I ran to the gym as fast as I could and sat in the bleachers. I ended up watching this girl, and I remember the girl waved at me, and honestly, she was actually really hot. But one thing I noticed about her was that she was really popular, and I didn't know why. If she was, you know, looking for fun, why is she so popular? Why does almost everyone in the school know her, and why is she, you know, so well known? I remember practice went on for like, I want to say like an hour and a half, and then afterwards, I remember she came up to me all sweaty saying, oh, like, I left my like change of clothes at like the office. Do you want to come with me? Yeah, sure, why not? So I ended up walking with her to the office, and I remember when I walked to the office, no one was in there surprisingly, which made no sense. But then she ended up saying, oh, like, they're all like in a meeting right now, so like we could just walk into the office. Oh, okay. And then I remember I ended up basically following her into the headmaster's office. The headmaster. If you guys don't know what a headmaster is, basically it's a principal of a private school. They call it headmaster. I have no idea why. It's not Hogwarts or anything, but I mean, hey, fair enough. So I remember we ended up going in there. Me and her, we basically, you know, got her a change of clothes, but then this girl decides to basically close the door behind her and say, hey, like, can you lock it for me? Yeah, sure, is what I said. And then when I locked the door, I remember I turned around and she was literally changing right in front of me. At that moment, I was amazed. I'm like, damn, okay. I had to watch an hour of volleyball just to get this? All right. And then I remember as she was changing, like midway, she realized that I was bricked up and my eggplant was massive. And I remember she looked over at me saying, do you want me to take care of that for you? And she ended up coming straight to me. And yeah, we just did the devil's tango right on the spot, literally in the headmaster's office. Now, this was insane. And honestly, I don't obligate anyone to do this because it's not a good idea. But I remember, like, I want to say like 10 minutes in, out of nowhere, I remember we ended up hearing footsteps into the office. And that's when me and this girl started freaking out. She put on her clothing really fast as if she's done this before, which I wouldn't be surprised if she did. But at the same time, I ended up just putting all my pants on really quick. And then that's when I realized when I tried to, like, you know, open the door to get out of there, the door wouldn't open. For some reason, I don't know what. I used my strength, everything. The door would not open. At this point, I started panicking. I looked over at the girl and I'm like, okay, like, what are we gonna do? Like, the door's not opening. What? That's impossible, is what she said. And then she ended up trying to open the door herself. But the thing was that apparently the door had some kind of like security lock. So people went in, they could like get caught from going in without like a proper key. I have no idea. It's some weird door. If you guys know what the name of it, just comment it down below. But at this moment, I started panicking. I'm like, yo, how are we gonna get out of here? And she ended up saying, well, like, I mean, like, we just have to wait for my dad to come back. What's your dad gonna do here? Is what I said. I'm like, what do you mean your dad? Like, how is that gonna help with anything? Well, my dad has the key. Is your dad like the janitor? Is what I said to her afterwards. No, he's the headmaster. What? I remember at that moment, I started panicking. I was freaking out. I'm like, there's no way I just did the headmaster's daughter in a private school for the first time in my life. Like, this is insane. So I started freaking out. I started panicking. And I remember me and her were trapped in there for, I want to say, over half an hour. And then half an hour later, I remember we ended up hearing a door open. And right when the door opens, the headmaster looks at me saying, I don't recognize you. Do you go to the school? I was thinking about enrolling, is what I said. I remember this private school girl that was, well, the headmaster's daughter looks at me as if I was dumb. And then the headmaster says to me, you want to enroll into the school, but your parents aren't here and you didn't bring your credentials? Actually, on second thought, I don't think I should go to the school, is what I said out of, you know, basically fear. And then that's when I ended up basically literally going straight for the door, sprinting out of there, jumping into my car, and drove away. I remember the private school girl ended up messaging me on Snapchat, but to be honest, I just blocked her because there was no way I was going to be caught doing it with the headmaster's daughter again. And that is basically it for today's story. Make sure you guys do leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And like I always say, follow for more embarrassing stories. Peace out, guys.